Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fill this thing with oil. Make sure you open up your valve first so it has a way for the oil to vent. I just found out the hard way that if you don't have a vent for your oil, it'll kind of hiccup back up and overflow, which is no fun. Okay, so you're done making a mess and putting oil in your pre-luber here. So next thing you're going to do is go ahead and put your little lid back on this, tighten it up, close your valve over here because you don't want oil coming back out again, making a big mess everywhere. And then you're going to take it to your air compressor and give it a charge of some air pressure. Now, this thing came with no instructions, so I don't know what the pressure is supposed to be. I would imagine you don't need more than about 60 or 70 psi, and I'm pretty sure that this steel tank can take that. So I think I'm going to put about 60 or 70 psi in it. You don't need it to be like a super high psi because obviously the engine only operates around 40 or 60 psi. So it doesn't even need to be normal operating pressure either. It just needs to be enough to get oil all through the bearings and the lifters and up to the top of the motor if your engine hasn't run for a while. I know this engine hasn't run for at least a year and a half, so I'm going to make sure I get everything pre-lubricated really well to try to prevent a failure upon initial startup. So take it over your air compressor, give it a charge of some air. Okay, so now comes the part where everyone complained the most on the online reviews for this thing. Basically, there's no swivel on this connection hose. So what I'm doing here is I'm turning it as much to the left as I can to kind of pre-wind this hose a bit. And then, well, because from here, obviously, we've got to thread it in to the right. So I'm going to attach that with a wrench, get it nice and snug, and we'll be ready to pre-lubricate this engine. So you're ready to pre-lubricate. Basically what you do is open the valve. You can hear the air pressure. Once the air pressure stops, close the valve, flip it over, and recharge the air pressure. So I would imagine you're going to have to do this repeatedly. Make sure you're cognizant as to how much oil is left. You don't want to put air into the bearing spaces and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is cycle this a few times like this, and then I'm going to rotate the engine around a little bit, do another cycle, rotate it around, do another cycle, so on and so forth, until there's not much left in this tank. Okay, so I don't know how many times you're supposed to cycle this over. I would imagine the best way to do it would be to take a valve cover off and kind of watch to see whether oil is coming out of the push rods and rocker arms and all that stuff. Make sure it's coming out of each one of them. But I've done it, I would say probably about 1,000 times, it seems like. I did go ahead and crank the PSI up to 120, and that still worked just fine. I just made sure I opened the valve slowly to not release all 120 PSI into the motor at one time. So this thing's still got probably at least 2.5, 3 quarts in it. If I keep doing this, it's going to take me forever. I've been probably cycling it for about a half an hour now. I think that's probably plenty, especially since this wasn't a brand new motor. It was an older motor. So it should have had some oil in the bearings already. I just wanted to make sure that there was plenty of oil, fresh oil. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect everything and connect the battery and see what happens. But that does it for this video. I was just showing you how to use this pre-lubricate. Pretty easy to use. It's definitely going to help increase the longevity of the motor, whether it's a brand new motor or a used motor that hasn't been started for a while. Definitely a good idea. It was only $100 with shipping from jegs.com. I had a coupon. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out my channel and subscribe and like my video as well. Thank you.